I'm doing an excerpt from a larger piece, and there are 3 characters, so I'm not going to say when they're going to change, but hopefully you'll figure it out. I wanted to stay with Jimmy. I loved him. He threw me out when he found out I was helping Nathan with his music. Jimmy valued my ear so much, he couldn't stand to share it with anyone. It was only years later that Nathan and I became lovers. We had a 3 o'clock in the morning relationship where we could call each other at any hour and pour out our hearts and fears. He would call me and play his songs, and I would play for him obscure recordings I found of oud players or Indian harmoniums. Have you had a relationship like that with someone you could call at any hour? You can't make great art on bankers' hours. I've watched you. I admit I don't know everything, but you've been in the city how long? 5 years? And you've never let a man derail your music, which is hard for a woman. They naturally dominate. Their egos are bigger than ours. I've seen you always keep a piece of yourself safe, separate. But now, to make the kind of music you're aching to make, you have to lay yourself bare, completely vulnerable. You have to play like it's 3 a.m. and your lover is on the other end of the line, waiting to be persuaded to come over and comfort you. Or give you a slap at that. You pulled back like I was going to hit you. You're too defensive, afraid to even have sex with someone who could be your equal or challenge you. Nathan started calling me after the Drugs of the World binge he and Jimmy did. It was going to be a concept album, a song for each drug, then it had to be a double album, and then a box set. For a while, Jimmy had to shoot up just to steady his hand enough to hold the razor. Then I had to shave for him. One time I vacuumed all the way around the bed with Jimmy sleeping on it. I got scared then and stopped using. What if he stopped breathing and I was too high to save him? Nathan tried to quit too. He called me, I want to use. How can you not do it? I told him, keeping Jimmy safe is something I want more. Isn't there anything you have like that you'd miss if you never came down from a high? He said his music. So I told him to get his bass right then and play. But that's Jimmy's song. You said your music. He had never played his songs for anyone. At first they weren't even very good, and I told him. But I also said that if he really wanted it, they would get better, and I would help him. It was helping me too. Jimmy was less and less present. A Quechua holy man in the Andes Mountains had told Jimmy that music is like the soul. You can't see it or touch it, but it holds our emotions and touches other people. He said that songs are made by taking pieces of your soul and attaching them to the notes and words of a song. But once you put a song out there, you can't get back those bits of your soul. And this freaked Jimmy out. We were at Lake Titicaca, high altitude, in the Andes mountain, chewing coca leaves and drinking chicha made from corn that the women chew and spit back in the pot. Jimmy couldn't shake the idea that he'd broken up his soul into the songs. That's why he was so restless and strung out. So he stopped playing guitar. I took him to detox psychiatrists, finally trekked back to the Andes to get that holy man to take back what he said. He said the only way for Jimmy to find peace was to get someone else to give his soul for Jimmy to take as his own. Right away, I said, I'll do it. The translator didn't want to explain to Santo, but he knew what I meant and smiled. Jimmy said, you do that for me? You do that for me? And hugged me. But he was so speedy, it was like a pincher grip. Nathan got up and walked away from the circle. He later tried to convince me not to do it, but I said, seeing Jimmy afraid to touch the guitar is killing me now. The Santo said we'd take a boat to the reed village floating in the middle of the lake and fast for 3 days. Jimmy's stash fell in the water on the way over, so he went through withdrawal. He said some terrible things. That I was doing all this to make him miserable. On the 3rd day when the moon rose, Santo mixed the first poison. He cut my skin to rub it in. You can still see the scar. It's made from frogs in the Amazon jungle. They don't kill them, just scrape the secretion off their skin. I could feel my whole body go numb. My heart beat slow. I couldn't even move my eyes. Just hear Jimmy pacing behind me and Santo mixing the next poison. Suddenly Jimmy yelled, "Stop!" He decided this was some plan for my soul to take credit for his songs. He screamed and jumped in the water. I couldn't do anything. Nathan dragged me to a boat and then hospital, where the doctor said my heart would have stopped if I wasn't there in time. By the time I got out, Jimmy was using again to stop writing songs or care about not writing them. You see now why I didn't want to get you anything. I want to hear the music you make. When you go to bed sober, wake up without coffee, or stay up all night, when you break down the doors inside yourself, don't be afraid if you think you'll fall apart without those doors, because I'll be here to put you together. I even helped Jimmy finish the last album before he died. He only had a few good hours at that point. 90 minutes, really, between the first high of the day and when he'd get too anxious to focus on the guitar. This was before Auto-Tune or Melodyne, so the rest of the band had to struggle to match his shifting chords and drifting rhythms. One day, after the 100th time that Jimmy licked his lips and struggled to get a chord I knew he could play in his sleep, I started to cry. He looked at me. "I know why you're crying. I can make it stop." He held my eyes like his old self again. "I'd do anything for you happy. I'll do what you want. You don't even have to hold the needle. I'll shoot you up." And I let him, even though I'd been clean for a while. Nathan took me to Paris that night. He was afraid Jimmy would kill me and himself. And I would have let him for one more song like they did that day. It's on the tapes. You'll understand if you listen what I mean when I say to open yourself up. I think I've opened up. Maybe not like to die, but nobody likes the songs I write about relationships. You know what it's like to pour out your heart in a song and have that be when everybody gets up to go to the bathroom or get a drink? Maybe it doesn't bring out the best tunes in me, or I never got lucky with the right guy. I'd be happy to let some guy dominate. I never tried to be all separate. Nobody ever wanted all of me. I thought you might have something like technical or kind of musical craft advice. Wasn't that what you gave them? Because I'd try anything. I lived for 4 years on day-old pastries the coffee house was gonna throw away. Stayed up till 1 playing, got up at 6 to do the morning rush. So that doctor says I've got hypoglycemia plus anemia from my only protein source being day-old danishes of cheese and almonds. I'd do that again if I thought it would get another song that's always just around the corner, that tune that's out of reach. If you think I need to break my heart, I'll throw myself at the next guy who comes, even Nick. He's nobody's idea of a muse. If you need to see, I can open up. Unless you want to break me down. Maybe drugs would just be easier. I don't think I'd die to hear a song or get to hear it written. Do you ever get to hear it if you're dead? Maybe. If you don't need a body to hear us, it just happens in your head. So maybe you get it. You can even write songs, probably. It's in your head. So imagine if they're up there still, the songs they could write in an infinity of time. Maybe that'd make it worthwhile being dead, to get to hear that up there. Still the dying part, that would suck. Truth be told, I never missed a meal. Stayed up all night, trying to write a song, play what they give me in the time allotted, well as I can. Priorities. Okay. Sex. I've gone hungry, stayed up. Love, even. Maybe she wouldn't believe it. People. Maybe ask about her priorities. If she's so into the music, where the people go. Maybe if she wasn't pushing him all the time, the next song, the next song. Maybe he'd still be here today. I'd give up. One song, anyone, you pick. Forget I ever heard it, just to get him back.